Welcome back. This is your tutorial on dotted half notes and rests. I'm going to use red for this one. Dotted half notes and rests. So a dotted half note looks just like it says on the tin. It's a half note with a dot after it. The way that dots work, dots can be applied to any rhythm. We're only going to use them on half notes for now, but I'll walk you through it. A dot, when we have a dot, I like to kind of use a little math to figure this out. A dotted whatever equals the whatever, the note, plus 1/2 of that note. So we have to kind of do this little math equation. So if I replace x with, let's say, a half note, okay, so I have a dotted half note, that equals a half note plus 1/2 of a half note, which is a quarter note, and that equals 3. Okay, 3 beats. Or if I have a dotted whole note, a whole note is worth is worth 4 beats, plus half of 4 is 2, so then it'd be worth 6 beats. Okay, so that's how the dots work. If that's too much to remember right now, you just gotta remember the dotted half note is worth 3 beats. That's just fine for right now. Remember that dotted half note is worth 3 beats. So in our in our measures here, 1, 2, 3, 4. If I've got a quarter note here, and then I want to put a dotted half note in it, there we go. I'm all full up now because I've got something that's worth 3 beats. So now we've got quarter notes which are worth 1 beat, half notes which are worth 2 beats, dotted half notes worth 3 beats, and whole notes worth 4 beats. The other thing that we need to learn about are rests. For every note value, there exists a rest as well. A rest is just a spot where there's no sound happening, right? Makes sense. Where we rest from making any sounds. We use rests all the time, right? Places to breathe. A spot where we just, let's say that we have, sopranos and altos singing together. The altos aren't going to sing for a section, and then the sopranos keep going. Or we just don't need to fill every single space up with sound, right? The symbols that we use for these are different than the notes, so that we can tell them apart easily. The equivalent rest for a quarter note is a quarter rest, and I'm going to do my best to draw it. Well, that's not bad. It's kind of just a squiggle. I mean, you'll see sometimes I'll just write like that for my rests. Sometimes people might draw like a bunch of extra stuff. I mean, these are all kind of the equivalent. My first attempt was not too bad. So there's a quarter rest that's worth 1 beat, right? 1 beat of silence in this case. My equivalent for the half note is a line with a box on top. I've always thought it looked like a top hat. You can like a farmer kind of person, or Abraham Lincoln or something. It's like a hat. Of course, we don't actually draw this stuff on the bottom. So there's my hat, half rest, hat. The reason I like that, I mean, half and hat don't really rhyme, but they're close enough. Okay. And then the equivalent for a whole note is the opposite. It's the upside down version. It's the inversion of that half rest. It's a hole in the ground. Equals 4. Whole equals whole. That is how I have always kept track of them. My E is kind of messed up here. Is half rest is a hat, whole rest is a hole in the ground. Half rest is a hat, whole rest is a hole. Quarter rest is a squiggle. You might be wondering, well, what about the dotted half rest? Does such a thing exist? I am here to tell you that it does indeed exist. We just don't really see it very often. We don't really get them that often. Most of the time, if you're going to be looking at your music, you're going to see a half rest plus a quarter rest. See, I told you I just make a squiggle. That's usually what we have instead of a dotted half rest. They do exist. I will not be putting them in any of our dictations because we just don't, or our dictations or our sight readings because we just don't run into them that often. So there's your rests. Remember, we got these rests, plus in this exercise section, we've got dotted half notes. My apologies, dotted half notes. Those are the new things in this section. Good luck on your sight readings. I think that you will have a pretty easy time with getting through all this.